everyone, Adrienne here. So we are doing something absinthe related today, but it's going to be a little different. So this all started when I was contacted by the publisher of the book that I'm going to be talking about today. They reached out to me via TikTok a few weeks ago asking if I was interested in getting an advance copy of The Absinthe Forger by Evan Rail, and they said like, hey, no pressure to review, but just to read. And I said, yes, absolutely. I was definitely interested and I am absolutely going to review it. So that's awesome. So this happened all like right before Kenny and I went on vacation to France and Switzerland to celebrate my 30th birthday and our 3rd wedding anniversary. So I did start reading it before we went on vacation, but because we had a lot going on in preparation for our vacation, busy work weeks leading up to that point, and because my friend Ted Bro advised us to spend as little time in our hotels as possible, I really didn't get a chance to get that much vacation reading done, but that's totally okay. We still had a blast, and the trip was a really nice reset button from the work burnout that I was experiencing. I will be talking a little bit more about my adventures in France and Switzerland in a separate video, but I will touch on a couple of things that happened here in this video because it's relevant. So this whole situation with the Absinthe Forger was revealed in April of 2019, which was shortly before I started gaining some more traction and interacting more with the established absinthe community. I had heard little whisperings of the scandal since everything went down, and several of my friends in the community talked a little bit about it as well since then, so it was nice for me to become fully informed of the events that took place by reading this book. So let me just say this for the record. I want to make this clear. I fortunately have never come into contact with the Absinthe Forger that is named in this book, and I had my first taste of pre-ban absinthe in September of 2019, and I did make a video about it at the time, and that was a gift from the private collection of someone in the community that I trust. So the Absinthe Forger had nothing to do with that. Just wanted to make that clear. So, there was once a man in the UK, whom the author refers to as Christian, who decided to capitalize on the interest in pre-ban and vintage absinthes that were popping up all over Europe and some parts of the US by making fakes. So apparently he used some vintage Pernod Tarragona from Spain from the 1950s and 60s, along with a few modern absinthes and a couple more odd ingredients to mimic the flavor of pre-ban absinthe. Wild. It's amazing that he put the time and effort into this. The author does a tremendous job of taking us on a journey through his investigation of the forger from the time he has his first strange interactions with the forger to the compulsive lies unraveling to the author learning more about absinthe, not only as a spirit but more about the culture that surrounds drinking absinthe, and communicating with other people in the absinthe community to help put the pieces together, and consulting a distiller and scientist, no, not Ted Bro, about how to tell the differences between the authentic pre-bans and the fakes, and at last the forger being exposed for what he was and the damage that he did to the community. So the author starts with what he imagines the absinthe forger's motivations and thought processes were before engaging in this scheme, and later goes into his first encounter with absinthe, which, you know, to be honest, wasn't really genuine, but I'm glad he eventually found his way. And then getting into the absinthe community and his first interaction with the forger himself. I also deeply appreciate that the author gives us a really nice history of absinthe as a whole, from its beginnings in Switzerland to the stigmatization, to the l'interdiction, which is the time when absinthe was banned, and to its resurrection. And also a really nice treat was learning a little bit more about the clandestine distillers in Switzerland who were still making absinthe even before the ban was lifted. So that was really cool to learn more about that. And for those who are already familiar with absinthe's history, there won't be much new information here in this section, but for me, as someone who has been involved with absinthe in one form or another for the last 9 years, I did walk away learning a couple of new things. such as the extreme lengths that psychiatrist Valentin Maillan went to in order to prove that absinthe was dangerous and deleterious to health. So for those who are not familiar, Maillan was one of the major voices that was putting out very questionable scientific studies. This fucking guy. About the effects of absinthe and warning people against drinking it during the Belle Époque, and this of course contributed to the absinthe ban in the early 20th century, as well as some of the misinformation that persists to this day. Love that. Thank you. I'm already someone who is very much against animal cruelty and especially against animal testing. So all of the soaps, detergents, cleaning products, cosmetics, and hair products that we use in our household are cruelty-free, and Kenny was very kind and supportive to join in those efforts to only buy cruelty-free products when we moved in together. So this is something that is really important to me. So the indie makeup brand that I collaborated with for my eyeshadow collections, as well as the Seance perfumes collaboration that I did, and there might be something coming up with me and them in the future again, so yeah, we'll talk about that. So when I read that Valentin Maillan went to such extreme lengths of animal testing and essentially torture to prove that absinthe was harmful, to the point where his colleagues were actually calling him out for it at the time, was both fascinating and infuriating to read about. Like, I had no idea it was this bad. Yikes. It was also incredibly fascinating to go on the journey that the author went on to learn about absinthe, its culture, and meeting and interacting with the top experts in the community, not only in regard to learning about absinthe, but also murmuring about the absinthe forger and his goings-on. Talking with experts, distillers, collectors of absinthe antiques and vintage absinthes, the author slowly puts the pieces together. The author also puts together a very vivid picture of the stunning landscapes and intriguing cities surrounding his journey in order to get to the bottom of the dilemma. So that was really cool. So in hindsight, I think it's better that I finished the book after my trip to France, because I was able to put so many faces to the names mentioned in the book, which was really nice. During my trip to Pontarlier and the Val de Travers, I met so many of the people that are mentioned in this book. It was really nice to associate a face to the name on the printed page. I met Claude Alain Bouillon and Alan Moss at their distillery, and for those of you who don't know, they are responsible behind making La Clandestine, which I have reviewed, and it was awesome being in their distillery. And again, Alan, thank you so much for inviting me. I had an amazing time. That was wonderful. I also met Patrick Cohn, and I also met Patrick Roussel and his son Quentin. I met Wolfgang Klotz in person, finally. And I finally met my friend Adrian Payne at the Absinthiads, and that's the Absinthe Festival. Apparently I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time, so I'm sorry about that, but now I know how to pronounce it. Whoops. I mentioned my friend Adrian before, as he's provided some lovely samples of absinthe and helped me to start my collection of absinthe antiques. Adrian, if you are watching, thank you so much for your friendship, and it was so lovely to finally meet you in person at the Absinthiads. It was really surreal to meet all these people in person and to read about them in the book as well. As a matter of fact, I did walk away with a couple of souvenirs from the festival. This is gonna turn into a little bit of a show and tell. I'm so sorry. Also, not sorry. But this is all connected with the story in question. So this gorgeous wormwood leaf pin that I'm wearing right here was a gift from Patrick Cohn. Very sweet of him. I still can't believe I finally got to meet him in person. That was wonderful. And then this gorgeous absinthe spoon here. It's called the Flèche absinthe spoon, which means arrow. This was gifted to me by Patrick Roussel. So it was wonderful to finally meet both of them in person after interacting online for a number of years. And both of these lovely people that I had the pleasure of meeting in Pontarlier played significant roles in putting the pieces together in exposing the forgery scandal later on. Needless to say, the festival was amazing. I got to taste a lot of absinthe, meet a lot of people in person that I've interacted with online up to this point, and I was incredibly shocked that so many people recognized me. Like when I was trying to introduce myself to Wolfgang, he's like, "Oh, I know who you are." And I'm just like, okay. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I did the polite thing and didn't assume that anyone recognized me, except my friend Adrian, of course. But I kept trying to introduce myself to people and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we know you. We know you." And I'm just like, okay, thanks. Marie-Claude Delay actually came up to me and asked to take a picture of my absinthe tattoo during the festival as well. So that was amazing. I could not believe that happened. Super cool. I also got lots of compliments on this necklace, of course, because this is a fan favorite apparently. Later on, the author goes on to describe how the absinthe forgery scandal really tore apart the community. People other than the forger himself were accused of selling pre-ban absinthes that were fake, and those sellers had to start being a lot more careful and selective about who they sold their pre-ban absinthes to. I can't really blame them considering what happened. And yeah, there isn't quite as much interest in pre-ban absinthe since then, but I will say I'm kind of glad that I started tasting pre-ban absinthes after this whole thing went down, so I'm thankful about that. Oh yes, I also got to meet Marcus Lyon in person. That was awesome. He was actually the one that gifted me with my first pre-ban absinthe, so thank you. It was wonderful meeting you. So I also wanted to note that I actually got a little emotional reading the author's closing because he feels the same way about absinthe that I feel. Absinthe is just incredibly inspiring, and that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. And that's actually why I wrote a song about it. Shocking. So I had a great time reading this book. It was definitely a page turner. I learned a lot and got a lot of insight and perspective on something that I only heard little hushed whispers about in the absinthe community. I think even if you're not even part of the absinthe community, that you'll still find this book incredibly enticing to read. Even if you're just interested in like spirits, or find the idea of alcohol forgery to be really compelling, or just like the history and culture overall, I think this book will be a nice entry point. Even Kenny, my husband, Mr. I Don't Like Absinthe, expressed interest in reading this book after I was done with it. So, you know, if he's interested, then that kind of says a lot. Hi, precious. You have just been so clingy and ridiculous and vocal since we got back from France, girl. What's going on? And she knows she can get away with it too. Yeah, she was very aggressively cuddling with me last night when I was finishing the book, so oh yeah, she knows what she's doing. She knows. Want to tell everyone what a menace you've been since we got back? Yeah, she's been very vocal, very demanding, very clingy, very cuddly. And as soon as I got back from vacation, I had to go on a work trip because I'm going in for some more training with like special processes with blood collecting. So yeah, I'm learning how to collect like platelets and plasma, double red blood cells. So as soon as I got back from vacation, she got a couple days with me, and then I had to immediately go on another work trip, and she was just like, no. Yeah, she misses her mama. Well, I missed you. So yeah, life kind of got a little busy, and I kind of hit the ground running as soon as I got back from vacation, but that's okay. That's okay. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this review of The Absinthe Forger. And if you have any questions or if you are interested in buying the book, I will of course leave links down in the description below for you to check out. And then do not forget to subscribe for more videos about absinthe and the goth subculture, gothic literature, and book recommendations, and sometimes, you know, a little bit of opera. We'll see. So thank you guys so much for watching. Yep, okay. She just wants to sit in my lap. That's okay. So thank you so much to my patrons for your support every single month. I really appreciate it. I could not do what I do without you guys. And to everyone, you're amazing. I love you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Precious says bye.